Welcome to Soltron. This is the video review for the DX Saidai-oh and the Gecki Elephant and what I'm calling the Gecki Ray from Jungle Fury or Gekiranger. Alright, here's the box for the elephant, and he's basically your typical Sentai Japanese box. It shows off all the play features, and it's very colorful, and it's nice and eco-friendly because there's not a lot of plastic going on. And then the instructions are pretty basic. They're just black and white directions. And here's the box for Saidai-oh. And this shows you like the different combinations you can put. And then a basic look at the robot mode as well. And here's a size comparison, and as you can see, this combined mode is like taller than Oni Taijin, so it's bigger than 12 inches, and it really dwarfs these other figures, including our leader class Megatron. And here you can get a good look at this crazy combination, and you can see this Ray is just like a figure I added onto it. It's from the Celestial Beasts, I think season 5. I reviewed that like more than a year ago. But I just got this figure and I thought it fit the aesthetic really well, so why not just throw that on there for like a flight backpack. But you can see this figure is really massive. He takes up a lot of space. And I really like how everything kind of fits onto it. Okay, and let's take a minute and actually look at the Ray because he's not really part of the combination. And he's really just like, the only reason he's even held in place right here is because the tip of his tail is actually wedged in between the two legs back here. But here's what the Ray looks like. Let's see. There you go. So you can see what he looks like in his Ray mode. So he looks pretty good, and he's got like really smooth textures all around his body. I think he would fit in better with Gekiranger if he had like black accents instead of these white ones. And then the underside is not really that much to look at. And he does have some of that glow-in-the-dark plastic, these blue parts. And he's also got it in his thrusters and then here in the very tip of the tail cockpit. So he kind of does have a flying mode, I guess, or like a jet mode. If you just turn him around, he doesn't really transform. But this would be like his vehicle mode. And then you could just fold in the little antenna from his Ray mode, and that's basically your kind of like Blackbird jet mode. And then he's got these little attachments that are connected by ball joints. This helps hold his body together. So I think what I would do is I'm probably going to make it so that these can attach to the legs of the Jungle Fury Megazord or the Geki Toja, so that this becomes a flight pack, and then these become like the thrusters on the legs, and then of course the tail would like become your basic spear or whatever. And this tail does like fold all the way around. I don't know why it would do that. Maybe for like a better, cleaner backpack for when it combined with the Celestial Beast Megazord, or the Celestial Beast or Godly Beast combiner from China. Maybe you could see the glow effect. Yeah, it doesn't really turn out. You can't really see it that much. You just have to take my word for it. And the eyes and the little forehead crest of the Ray also glow. So we'll put him away for now. He'll come back in a little bit later. So a really cool and ridiculous gimmick that this set has is that the Rhino is actually motorized and can walk as it rolls. So the set comes with like this role play sword that like folds in half. I don't really care too much for this thing, but it does have a magnet in the red circle here, and that's what activates this and gets him to start walking. Is you basically engage the magnet with this red crest on the top of the Rhino's back, and that turns it on. And another nice thing is in the back it has this toggle switch, so you can actually just engage a free roll, so you can just move it manually without grinding all the gears. So it's really nice that it has that feature. And as you can see, these back legs are kind of pumping and the forward legs as well as he runs. And then the cheetah and the jaguar or panther, I don't know what it is, like run alongside him because they're connected on the sides. So that's a really fun gimmick that they're not really adding to the combination, they're just off to the side, but they're kind of part of the combination. And you just unplug them using the same joints, the same connection pegs that you use for the combined mode. So there's like these big shafts that stick out. And then there is a third spot on the Rhino, like up here. And this is actually made for the wolf, for the Gecki wolf. But you can actually have the cheetah or the panther hang out up there too. So it's cool that it's compatible with these figures. All right, so to take them apart, basically there's like this chariot on top of the Rhino, and Geki Toja's legs just peg into the saddle area. So all you have to do is just lift him out, and then you can see these leg connectors connect to here, and then for Geki Fire they connect to here. And because mine is modified, he can actually change his leg position, so he can actually stand up here in the back row too, which makes him even taller. So you can see how that looks. And I think that looks pretty cool too. One thing that my figure can't do is this shield. In the original figure, this shield pushed the button on his stomach. And because I made my Geki Toja taller, this shield no longer pushes this button. So he's not going to spin while the Rhino is moving forward, which is kind of a shame. Because it's pretty cool to have the Rhino walking as the Geki Toja is like spinning and doing his attack. But mine can't do that. I'd have to make like an adapter to connect the shield to his belt buckle, basically. But anyway, we take him out, and then you just put his legs back on, and that's how you combine him to the Rhino. There's really not that much to it. All right, and here's how the Gecki Elephant combination looks. So he looks really imposing. I think everything works together really well, and I'm really impressed with this color. It doesn't really show up on camera very well. It's a lot more saturated. It looks kind of grayed out on camera, but it is really bright in person. It looks really good. So I really enjoy this combination, and because my figure is a custom, there's some things that don't really fit on him correctly. And then one thing my figure can do is actually turn around the tiger head so it's not in the way at all. And you can see he gets like his elephant mask kind of actually looks like a standalone head. So I'm gonna have to do some modification for the elephant weapon. I'm gonna have to make a longer shaft so he can actually hold this. And then I have to make a ball joint so that this head can actually connect, because I dug out the clip when I was customizing the tiger head so it can rotate. But you can see it mostly works out correctly. All right, and his elephant head weapon is just not going to stay in his hand because that shaft is just not long enough. But this is how he would look. He's got his like tail weapons on his back. They're getting in the way. This is how he looks when he's attacking in this form. So even though I customized this guy, he still has all the battery operated gimmick. And then we can get a closer look at that head sculpt, and it looks really good. I'm glad I got this figure. I got him for like $15 on eBay. So the elephant was well worth it, even though he had some damage. But otherwise, he's in pretty good condition. And then I'm going to put a ball joint here so he can actually look around. But right now, it's just held in by blue tack. So I haven't actually modified the elephant yet. A couple other mods I'd like to do is I'd actually like to get these panels and relocate them to the shins, so it looks like he's more armored up. Since these panels, they basically just get in the way of his arm articulation. They're really annoying. And then I kind of want to actually put the elephant head like on his chest, just to make more of a like full suit of armor. And then this actually broke. This ball broke when I dropped it, and inside there's a huge hollow space. So I'd actually like to put a chain in there. And then you can have like a ball and chain weapon while he's wearing the elephant head basically on his chest. So he'd be like fully armored up in this green armor. I think that would look really cool. And this is basically how the Ray backpack would look on him. It looks okay. The elephant armor definitely covers a lot of the surface area, so you can't really see it very well. But I think that would be a cool combination. And to get all this armor off, I did leave the original shoulder connections, and I'll probably modify that too. So they do just peg onto these slots here. There's like spring-loaded tabs on the inside of the elephant body, and that frictions these into place. I like how the Gecki lion actually connects better. I put a ball joint in here for the lion armor, and that lets the shoulder pads move around. So I'll probably do that with this guy too, so he can actually move his arms. Because right now, this impacts his posability. He can't move his arms laterally at all because these giant pieces of armor get in the way. But anyway, that's the two halves of the elephant, and basically you just close these hatches and you just peg him together, and you can see he's got a big hollow space inside of his body. I'd like to store like some other weapon or something in there, and then you actually rotate the legs all the way around, and they kind of only ratchet here and here. Otherwise they're really loose everywhere else. And you can see here's the tail, and basically the head would normally, because I bought this one used, he was a little bit damaged. The head would normally peg in here with this shaft, but this one's like incomplete. And then this head just basically comes off. There would normally be a clip, so that clip would actually clip into here, but because I put ball joints for the tiger head so it could have posability and he can look around, I took that clip out. So I'm going to find a different way to do that. And then this head crest, you can get a better look at the head here. You can see he's got like some red trim around the face and the cheeks, whereas the original has black trim. So they have a slightly different look. It's hard to see with the shadows. But you rotate down the crest, and that's going to hide the combined mode head. And then these tusks just peg into the elephant head. And then this clip will now clip into the chest of the elephant, which helps hold everything in place. So here's Gecki Elephant all transformed up. And I think this is a really great looking figure. I really like this aesthetic. He's just nice and simple. He's not like Zoids at all. He just has like a smooth, there's not much mechanical detailing. He looks very organic. And then he does have like a little gimmick where you take his ball, and then he's got a switch on top of his head that whips out his trunk so he can kind of do an attack. It's pretty underwhelming. I guess my table's not level. But he'll very gently, softly push this ball across the table. So that's a cool gimmick. It'd be cool if he could like stand on the ball like he's in a circus. I think that's what they were going for. But he can't quite do that. His legs just don't work that way. But yeah, I think he's a really nice looking robot. Usually I would put like ball joints in the legs just so he could like have an outward stance, but for an elephant that doesn't really make that much sense. So probably I'll just give him maybe like a ball joint neck, which will also help his mask combine with Gecki Toja. This is basically what Gecki Toja would look like with those wings, and then I'd have these just like pegged somewhere. Make like a really small ball joint so that these thrusters could like peg into the legs, because the legs never get to do any combinations. Or I guess maybe they could peg into the arms too and become like some sort of launchers or something. Put the rhino like fully into his animal mode, you can actually take the shield out and then rotate it and then put it back on the back, which kind of cleans up his look a little bit. And then the leg posts here that were holding the legs of Gecki Toja, you just take those out and then rotate them like this, and that pretty much cleans up the look. So there is some parts forming for sure on this guy. And here's my full set of Gecki animals. These are all the ones I have. I've never owned the bat, but I'm kind of considering getting him. And then let's just put in the like Gecki Ray, since now he's an honorary spirit animal. But yeah, I think these guys look really cool. I really like how they all look together. This is maybe my favorite Power Rangers series now. And then one really annoying thing about this Rhino is that his horn is constantly falling off because I'm constantly bumping into it because it just protrudes so far that I'm just constantly running into it. And luckily it's on these clips, so it'll come right off and not break. But it is a really irritating thing about this figure is every time you walk past him, he'll like snag on your clothes. And I've probably knocked off his horn like 30 times in the couple weeks I've had him. And just for the heck of it, here's how the lion and manta ray combination would look. Or maybe it's a stingray. If you didn't see the video on this custom Geki lion armor, you should definitely check that out. I'm really proud of how this turned out. And here's how he would look in his lion armor on the Rhino. I think they fit together really well. Yeah, I'm really pleased with this combination too. And lastly, let's just appreciate how tiny the elephant is compared to the Rhino. It's just a really awesome figure. I got this guy for $100 on eBay, which is a pretty good deal. It said new, but he's definitely slightly used. And here's how Dononi Taijin looks riding him, which actually kind of works. I had to take one of his legs off though, because he can't spread his legs. But otherwise, this would actually look kind of cool. Okay, so let's get this guy transformed. It's really, really simple. So first you got to take the shield off and get that out of the way. And then you're going to pop off these front legs, which are basically just held on with those same kind of like spring-loaded friction clips that the shoulder armor of the Gecki Elephant is also clipped onto. And then there's these two clips here, and they're going to clip here in the chariot area, or basically on the saddle, I don't know what you call that. And then you do the same thing with the other foreleg, so they come off nice and easy, nice and fast. And then there's a locking mechanism on this figure, thankfully. And you can see there's this huge platform down here that doesn't really do anything. It'd be nice if something could store there maybe. But you pull out this lock right here, and that's going to allow this whole figure to rotate. So you can see there's like a 45-degree angle here. His whole body is now going to rotate up. Okay, that's probably a bad place to stop. He's going to rotate up until he's completely upright. And when you turn him around, you can see that you've got like the whole robot just staring at you with his arms up. And then this little spiked piece can pop off for some reason. And then you're going to take, or actually now's a good time to lock him back up. So you press that same little switch, and that'll lock his waist so he doesn't collapse while you're posing him or whatever. And then you can rotate this arm down, and then you're going to fold out the fist from the forearm, which is pretty typical. And then you're going to rotate this arm down, and this arm is pretty much all one piece, and that's going to be his sword arm. So it's kind of, the rhino head is just like connected to it. You can't really do anything about that. And it can pose so the sword is just like pointing straight down. And then you take that shield piece, and that's just going to peg on to the side of his arm here. Or it's got a little handle, like a very tiny little handle for his tiny little, like 10 millimeter, or actually like 7 millimeter port. So he can just hold that up front like this. And then finally, he's got a cool spring-loaded gimmick here, which reveals his head. So he's got like this mask, and it's kind of a hard rubber, but it is like a rubber mask. And then you press this, and that's going to reveal his head, which is pretty cool. You'd kind of expect there to be lights and sound when that happens for like the Sentai figures these days. And then he can do the same walking motion, as when he was a rhino. And then sometimes the legs get like misaligned, so you have to just like push one back so it looks like he's taking steps. But you can see his feet moving. And that's basically all that moves in this mode, is it just makes it look like he's walking forward. So unfortunately that takes away his leg articulation, but back in the day, this guy probably wouldn't have had any leg articulation anyway, so you're not really missing out on anything. And then he does still have, you have to retoggle the switch. He does still have his battery operated feature too, so he can walk across the table. Oh, and actually the activation switch is now on his back. So you can see him struggling to walk, like gradually picking up speed. All right, and let's get a 360 view of this guy, and you can see he's pretty clean except for these rhino legs that are just now tacked onto his back. But otherwise, as you saw from the transformation, there's not much going on, and he's got this huge platform back here. I guess like Geki Toja could just like stand here pretty much and hang out with him as he's walking, but there's not really a combined mode with the robot mode. I guess you could take these off and put these back on his shoulders. Okay, so now the rhino legs are back on his shoulders. I actually think, that actually might be better. They're sticking out, they're a little bit ugly, but it's kind of better than just having them clumped up right here. So I'm actually, yeah, that's kind of like a pointless piece of transformation. So I guess you don't really have to parts form this guy. So that's good news, except for like these little posts down here if you want to put the cheetah and the jaguar on, but I think most people are okay with that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. He doesn't even parts form. That's pretty impressive. Oh, and then why not? Let's get what he looks like with the Ray backpack. Kind of fits him. It's not too bad. That actually looks kind of cool. You could barely see it behind him, but it's there. Oh yeah, and articulation-wise, he's got no head articulation. And then actually, let's get a look at that head sculpt. We haven't done that yet. So he's got like a really great-looking head sculpt. It's really excellent. But yeah, he's not going to have any head articulation. I might mod him and fix that. And then I definitely want to give him some elbows, because he does not have elbows, but he does have like shoulders on these 45-degree joints. I guess that's why you don't keep these back here, because this looks pretty ugly. But these, since they're 45 degrees, it's kind of weird how his arms cross his body as you're raising his arms, but it does that for transformation. So he's not really, yeah, until I give this guy some elbows, he's not going to be the best sword fighter. And then he also has like one click of outward motion on his arms, but I think again that's mostly for transformation, because I think in his robot mode you're actually supposed to have his arms just at his sides, which matches his legs better. And then his legs are of course not going to spread or anything. And then if you want his legs to move, you're going to have to just, you're going to have to like enter free mode, and that's like the only way to move his legs. I guess you can manually force them to be in the same position so it looks like he's just standing like a statue. One last thing I want to say before we do a final size comparison is it would be cool if they gave like a little shaft for this so that Geki Toja can like hold this sword, and I think he could probably hold this shield if I hadn't given him modified fingers. But it would be cool if he could just like hold these two pieces of equipment. So I think that would be a pretty fun play feature. Or if this like became a sword for Geki Toja, could have like a scimitar. You can maybe dual wield these two weapons, which would look pretty cool too. All right, and then here's the final size comparison. You can see he's as big as Do no Nitaijin, which means he's massive. Yeah, and I think I've said everything there is possibly to say about these two figures. So I'll see you in the next one.